Every chance I get, there's a place I go where the bass are biting as the sun hangs low. There's a feeling I get that I hope will never end. On a deep, clear lake or an Ozark stream, I kick back, relax, and I start to dream about what Mother Nature has waiting around the bend. Hey, Larry and Bob will take me there today. My gear's packed up and I just can't wait to get out on my way. Outdoors in the heartland, it's like coming home to an old friend. That city life is not for me. There's fun as far as I can see. The great outdoors is where I want to be. Outdoors in the heartland.
Your Quality Ford dealers present Outdoors in the Heartland with Bob Richardson and Larry Woodward. This segment of Outdoors in the Heartland is brought to you by Ford and your Quality Ford dealers. Strike King, #1 in fishing lures. Browning, the best there is. Lowrance, we lead, we find, you win. And Triton Boats, we take America fishing.
Hi folks, I'm Bob Richardson, and thanks for joining us on today's Outdoors in the Heartland. Of course, my partner today, 2 decades, Larry Woodward. But you know, we found that because of the social media, that people watch our shows for 2 reasons. One, they want to be entertained, and this guy can be entertaining, but also for more information and more education. And with that said, today's show
could be your lucky week. If you like catching bass on topwater baits, we're going to cover fishing Strike King topwater baits from A to Z. You know, there's a lot of different topwater baits out there on the market, but the 3 basic types that you should have in your tackle box are popping baits, walking baits, and buzz baits. So let's start out talking about popping baits. You know, poppers have been around for a long time and they're extremely easy to use. Just cast them out and twitch them back in. Speed and cadence should be dictated by the mood of the fish, time of day, time of year, etc. Have I got you confused yet? Well, it's like this. The Strike King Spittin' King will sit in a strike zone around cover forever. And what's great about it, even if you don't pop or twitch that bait, its tantalizing feathered tail is always pulsating like fins on a prey fish. And that really helps sell the deal to finicky, inactive bass. The Spittin' King is also designed with a little special front end, and it's cut just right to maximize spitting and spraying. The spitting and spraying better mimics bait fish than a chugging sound. The Spittin' King really shines in clear water around shallow cover, and it really shines on pre-spawn and spawning bass, whether they be largemouth or smallmouth. They all love the Spittin' King. You know, when the water temperature starts getting into the 50s, it's time to bust one out. But let me tell you something, some of the biggest smallmouth and largemouth I have ever caught on a Spittin' King has been when the water temperature has been in the mid-50s.
You know, Larry, one thing I'd like to add to that, you know, of course, I don't think I like throwing anything better like yourself as a topwater bait. You know, but, you know, a lot of people think that the only time you're going to throw a topwater bait is early in the morning and late in the evening. In a lot of cases, that's probably your prime time. But, you know, you can utilize and take advantage of the sun with the terrain. A lot of times, especially we've been in, whether it's been in Bacharach or even on this, what you'll see on the show today, up in Canada, you know, we utilize the hills, the mountains, whatever we can to keep shadows. And there's a lot of cases you can extend them shadowed banks up to 10, 11 o'clock during the day, and in some cases even later than that. And the key is, right now it looks like, you got to get this Spittin' King right up against them rocks. You know, the key is, this is the dam right here. And as you can see how steep that is, well, we're sitting maybe 20 feet from the bank, but I bet it's 100 foot deep. So these fish are not hanging out here. They're up tight against these big boulders and rocks. And as you can see by the structure and the terrain, they have got lots of places to hide. And the thing you got to watch on something like this, I've got a medium light rod I use for a topwater. It's got a lot of bow to it. And the reason you need that, especially if something hits up here when you've only got 15-foot line and you get an 8 or 10 pound fish on it, he's going to just strip that line or pull the hooks right out of his mouth. So I just back the drag down just a little bit. Take it easy, slow down, take it easy, take it easy. That's a big fish.
Oh, double.
This is a big fish. This is a big fish.
I got a good fish too. What a way to start a morning here, huh?
Mine's bigger than yours.
Yeah.
Mine's just a digging. I was watching yours. He's under the boat. Under the boat. He's out from under the boat. Different size. Who's it bigger? Oh, they're close. They're close.
Yeah.
Well,
Does that not get your blood flowing? You know, the great thing about this trip, Larry, is, you know, we left St. Louis at about 7 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, you can be in Massillon by 1 o'clock in the afternoon and headed to the lake. And, you know, these are the kind of fish that the guys have been catching for yesterday, and I'm certain today on a regular basis.
This segment of Outdoors in the Heartland is brought to you by Ford and your quality Ford dealers, and Triton Boats. We take America fishing.
welcome back, folks. This week it's about topwater baits and how to use them. Let's get back to Bob, who has a little bit more to say about the Spittin' King.
You know, one thing I always try to remember, even if I'm just throwing bottom baits, I'll keep a topwater bait handy, a buzz bait, a Spittin' King, because you never know at any time when you get bait fish will come up, and them bass, they'll follow them and they'll go to that topwater, and you got to have something ready to get in there quick. You may only catch one or two, but it could be two of the bigger fish you've ever caught in your life. You know, with that said again, you know, the Spittin' King, I actually took for an example here, tied it on to a regular snap. It's an easy, snap it on, snap it off. But, you know, probably 15 years ago, one of the first things that I learned out of Larry Woodward's mouth, and I paid attention, not always do I, is using a topwater knot. And holy cow, what a difference it will make to any topwater, whether it's a walking bait or a topwater bait. And we're going to get an opportunity, Larry, to show us just how to tie what we call a topwater knot. Larry showed me what he calls a topwater knot. All the difference in the world. If you just take a whatever kind of trilene knot, a Palomar knot, and tie it right to the eye of it, you lose probably 50% of that topwater action. It's a loop knot, topwater knot. It's probably got 2 inches in loop, and all the difference in the world in action and activity. The only thing you got to be a little careful when you pull it down. You always want to wet and cinch that line down so you don't burn it.
A lot of people want to see how this knot is tied, and it's pretty hard to show monofilament being tied on television. So we've got a big split ring and some big red cord to illustrate a little bit better to you how to tie this knot. Run your tag in through the eyelet, bring her down about a foot, drop it over, go around the bait 3 times, bring the whole bait back through the loop, grab the knot just in front of the bait, pull your 2 tag ends through, and there you have it. It's that simple. Okay.
Coming up.
Oh, can't say that.
That's what we're talking about. We might have to cut that word out. We might want to land in that here. 10-pounder. Finally. Finally. Look at that.
That might be more than 10 pounds.
Just to be in the presence, the opportunities to catch a fish of 10 pounds like this here, the odds are extremely high. 10-10, 10-8. Folks, it weighs 10 pounds. Okay, Bubba girl. There you go. Look at her go. Whew.
The next bait I want to talk about is walking baits. And the best one on the market that I know of today is made by Strike King, and it's called the Sexy Dog.
The new Sexy Dog. You know, Strike King, when they introduced this, came out with 2 versions. One is the junior, a 2-hook version, and the full size, a 3-hook. You know, it's a walking stick bait, and I think Larry's got one on right now.
Yeah, I got the senior on here. I tell you what, there's different times to use one of these type baits. You know, the Spittin' King is more of a subtle bait. It just spits a little bit. You throw it out around cover that's in shallow water. You can make accurate pinpoint casts with it. It'll stay in the strike zone a long time. Fish come up and get it. This bait here is used for a little bit different situations. When you really need to make really long casts in clear water, or you've got schooling fish, or you're fishing underwater structure that goes way out into open waters where this bait really shines. I like throwing this thing on like a 7.5 foot medium heavy rod. And one of the important things on this is not tying directly to it, tying the loop knot. And one of the most important things you can remember to fish this is don't let the fish get a good look at this, because normally you're fishing this in clear water. You want to just keep it coming. Just speed is of essence with this bait. This bait in clear water will pull fish from great distances. You know, nothing to pull bass up out of 50 feet of water suspended in 50 foot of water, or come from the left or right from great distances to have this bait. Wow, did you see that? That's why we fish right there. No matter what size it is, that's why you fish. Beautiful fall evening, almost dark, calm. Look at that. This is why we fish. That thing is strong. Well, I tell you what, we're gonna dunk him in there. We'll throw out. Don't go away. We come back. Hopefully some more of this left, right with the old sexy.
This segment of Outdoors in the Heartland is brought to you by Ford and your quality Ford dealers, and Strike King, #1 in fishing lures.
Now when it comes to colors, you want to pick colors that go with the conditions you're fishing. You know, lower light conditions, you might want to fish a bait something like this, has a little chartreuse or orange in it. Bright sunny days, real clear water, you might want to use a translucence bait or almost down to a clear type bait. At nighttime or real low light conditions, you might even want to throw a black one. Wow, you see it in the water? Nice fish. Nice fish. Oh,
Nice fish.
I just wish we weren't running out of daylight. And it's supposed to maybe rain tomorrow, so let's pray that it doesn't. Man, they're strong.
Hell, might be.
So strong.
Might be good in the morning if it ain't raining, Larry. Hey?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know if the front comes through tonight or tomorrow.
If it's not pouring down, we'll sure give her a go. Now, when it comes to line, this is the one bait that I would recommend at times you throw on braided line, because you can throw this so far out there, and as you know, so many times on schooling fish, as soon as that bait hits the water, twitches a couple times, the bass will erupt on it. Well, if you throw this on braid, it has no stretch, and it makes it much easier when a fish takes this bait on the end of a really long cast to get the hooks in them. If you're fishing it up in closer range areas, you know, monofilament's the way to go, because you do have a little bit of stretch, and it will keep you from jerking this bait out of the fish's mouth at close range. Oh. Number one thing fishing topwater bait, you make sure it's in their mouth before you set the hook. Sometimes that's easier said than done. There, we got that one. Look, ain't that pretty? Getting bigger. Oh, whoa. Yeah, it's a smallmouth.
Yeah.
Really good one. fat one.
There was about 3 or 4 of them underneath it, and that one came up and got it. Yeah, it's a nice fish there.
Really nice.
The big bass. That is a nice smallmouth.
Well, it just goes to show you, you can teach an old horseshoe a new trick. I got old Fred fishing the sexy dog.
That's right.
Outdoors in the Heartland has been brought to you by Ford and your St. Louis Ford dealers. Strike King, #1 in fishing lures. Triton Boats, we take America fishing. And Gilbreth's Taxidermy, the official taxidermist of Outdoors in the Heartland.
Welcome back. So far we've talked about popping baits, walking baits, and how and when to use them. And the third but not least topwater bait that you've got to have in your arsenal is the buzz bait. Now this thing's been around for eons, and Strike King has several different models to fit different situations. One thing about it is you definitely want to be able to throw this really far. I highly encourage you to throw this on at least a 7.5 foot medium heavy rod. You want to get it way out from you as far as you can get it. Next thing you want to do is you want to fish this on a little bit heavier line, because all the casting on this thing wears heavily on your knot. So you want a knot that's going to hold up, and you want something to be able to put the hook in the fish.
Mike?
Yeah. Well, I'm fishing a great big old buzz bait, starting out typically a largemouth bait. And I thought, you know what? I'm starting out at a disadvantage behind the boat, but if I get a fish to hit it, it might be a quality fish. Now, when people bump a fish, you call it bump board. That's a device used to measure. Close their mouth, fan their tail. Now, we're going 12 inches. That's a 16-inch fish, so well beyond legal. Now, this is a bait that you definitely don't want to throw on braided line. The strikes on this thing are so explosive that you're watching this bait the whole time you fish it. And when a big fish comes up and takes this, you visually see the strike and you want to jerk away from it. The stretch in the monofilament gives you just that cushion you need to not jerk that bait out of that fish's mouth or away from him before it has it.
We all know that have fished with topwater baits, especially buzz baits. How many times does a fish come up and miss it or short strike it? Well, one thing that we talked about earlier, it's all about tips today. And the tip that I'm going to give you is a trailer hook. Sounds pretty simple. I like to use, especially for bass fishing, something in the 4 to 5/0 range. Strike King came out with this bait, and as you can see, we'll get a close-up shot. It's actually in the whole eye is encased in rubber. And what's that do? It makes it easier to get on, and it keeps it on there. You know, they're tight sliding over, but that's the good point. When you use a rubber dipped eye, as you can see that there, the eye of that hook, on that hook, keeps it in position. So the hook's going to stay out. As you can see there, the rubber skirt comes down to about the same length as the hook. That tip there will put more fish in the boat.
Smallmouth fishing, points are always an important place to try. Muddy, nasty flats with cattails, not so much. You catch the odd fish, but you're not going to catch a bunch. You stick with the hard bottom, you get more smallmouth. Here he is. I think that's the right kind. Yep. Now, folks, a lot of times we're fishing, we're playing these fish out and stuff, and it's probably too big a fish to swing in the boat for a tournament, but I probably will. Whoa! Whoa, son, Roland Martin would say. You know, Strike King makes different kinds of buzz baits. Double wings, triple wings, double buzzers. They've got a buzz bait for you for every fishing condition. But the way to fish any buzz bait is pretty much the same. Throw it way out there, and as soon as it hits the water, get it cranking up on top. Now this can be achieved in a couple different ways, and that's by using a long rod to be able to pick up your slack line as soon as you get it thrown out there. And it's also easier by using a reel with a fast gear ratio like 6.4 to 1 or faster.
Toad. Look at that. What a pretty fish. I'd say that one's probably 18 inches.
There's one.
That is another big smallmouth. That is a oh, it's a good one.
Oh! Did you land that for me? Is that 20 inches?
That fish is probably pushing 20 inches, yeah. That fish is a good 4.5 pound fish. You gotta read the bank. There can be just the smallest of 2 or 3 rocks coming down the water. And a lot of times them 2 or 3 rocks actually continue down into the water, and that may be the spot you need to hit.
This might cull one of mine, maybe. Yep, he's gonna cull my smallest one for sure. Brown nasty.
Big and nasty.
Which one's bigger? Whoa! Yeah.
Well, Larry, I can only hope that the folks that watch today's show learned a little bit about working topwater baits, if nothing else, the old sexy dog.
Or burning a buzz bait or popping a spitting king.
For Larry Woodward, I'm Bob Richardson, and we're going to see you somewhere next week, right here.
Outdoors in the Heartland.